On our way to Ohio, had a super busy morning, and it's a little slower now, but it's going to stay busy the rest of the day. Oliver has baseball today. Now, I felt bad. He had a baseball game last night. He had a baseball game this morning. Two of them, one this morning, one this afternoon. The problem with last night was I would have had to take him out of school. See, they're done. You guys are done school. For you guys that are Americans, your school's done now. His isn't done until June 28th. And I didn't really want to take him out of school. 29th. I didn't want to take him out of school and blast over to Ohio and then have him play baseball. And then what would I do? Not come home for Ready for Landing? I had a real kind of candid conversation with James about him. James wanted to go with Lonely Lakewood. I know he's worried that I'm going to go too much with him or something, but he wanted to go. He said, I'll go with Lonely Lakewood. I'm perfectly fine to go with him, which is fine. Go with Lonely Lakewood. I never go with him anyway. But he said the problem with Ready for Landing is my strike rate on Ready for Landing, 0. He said, I don't think he's ever straight trotting one day in his life for me. I said, yeah, all right, no problem. So, we've just made so much progress with this colt, and he's such a scatterbrain sometimes. I just felt that, it started in Grand River, and the break at Grand River was the head pole, but after that he was so good, and I never would have thought he would have got around a half-mile track. And then the schooler last week, really, really good. I was just worried that he was really, quite frankly, it might sound silly, but I was worried that he was at a real pivotal place in his life, and it could be detrimental if he made a break or was really hot at the gate, or, he's a type horse. I like him because you can be a little rough with him. Like you can see some, and you can be a little rough with him. He'll stay at his work. But if you just straight pull on him, he'll fight. He'll fight with you. And it's hard to explain that to somebody who's jumping on as a catch driver. It's a really difficult thing to do. So I was worried that all that progress we've made with Ready for Landing, we would give it away. So I told Ollie, stay in school. We're going to miss the 10:30 morning game, but I promise I'll have you there for the 3:30 game, which worked out good anyway. They had enough players for both games, and they have a bunch of games next week. So does Ollie in Ontario. So they're going to use Ollie to do some pitching.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That's right.
Doubleheader Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that's what you have all week. So a big week for Ollie. I'm going to spend as much time at home watching him play as I can. But I wanted to make sure if the team needed him, which they did today in Ohio, we got him over there. So he's going over to play today. We got lots of time now, but this morning was a bit of a rat race. 6 a.m. we were all up, and Amy was gone already, so I don't even know what time my wife got up. 5? Definitely, I would have woke up at 5:30. She was out early. Over to the barn, wanted to train all the horses today. Want to train all the babies today that weren't qualifying or weren't qualified, i.e. the 2 fillies yesterday. Everybody else I wanted to train, and I wanted a stiff mile into them. Now, it's a little disheartening because you can't go a fast mile in the jog cart with the horses at first line. Track's nice, but it's dead. So we went a mile in 2:11, 2:12, and 2:14, 2:18 with the last set, but the last set was like Drebin, and it didn't matter. That and don't talk about Bruno was in the last set. Seasons of Love, all those horses for different reasons. Seasons of Love did not need a fast mile. She's ready to rock. Drebin is ready to rock. And Bruno needed to go a little easier today, so that was a perfect mile for him. So we're going to talk about who trained. The qualifiers were great today, the exact opposite of yesterday. We went 2 for 2. We were a winner. Who would have thought Ready for Landing would win a qualifier in June? I would not have booked that bet at all. And we'll talk about him in depth at the, we'll start with the qualifiers today. And by the way, stay tuned to the end of this video. We bought a horse today, just a flyer, just threw a flyer out there on a horse, one of our clients. I didn't know the gentleman before the other day. He owns a couple of horses with us, I believe a couple of shares, and had a horse of his own in Illinois. Nowhere to really race the mare. Very lightly raced. A 6-year-old with less than 30 starts, from what I can see on her lines. 2 parimutuel wins. Kind of what we're looking for in a roundabout way. If she can settle in at Northfield and do lots of spots for this mare, for sure. So we'll talk about her at the end. Also, I see that I had a couple of emails from clients last night that Ron Burke has put a number of what look to be pretty interesting looking horses up for sale on gate. We have that going on. We have the preferred sale going on Monday. So a lot to talk about. We're going to start with what put the biggest smile on my face today, and that is the qualifiers. Yesterday, I think I was clear. The first filly insider trading pitched the line yesterday. I will stake all you want on her qualifying next week. There won't be a problem with her. Minor little adjustment to her shoes. She's off to the races starting next week. I will tell you right now, I'm confident saying she will qualify next week. No problem whatsoever. See if I'm wrong. Flash Fly is going to take a little bit. I can see what the issue is. The 28 second, 29 second, halves and 59. They're going to be a little bit of a struggle for her. She's going through a growth spurt. She's a little more narrow behind than I'd like to see, but we can't force her open. We can't make her widen out. We can try, but that, in my experience, that path usually leads to them getting a little sore. And I don't want to do that. So we're going to go a different route. We're going to take a week, maybe two, and tinker with her shoeing, see if I can't get them right. We're going to make some wholesale shoeing changes. And by wholesale, I mean some extreme shoeing changes. Not extremely odd or unique shoeing, just quite a different path than we've been on with her. And we'll see if it works. Might even throw the hobbles on her. She's going to have a lot of work next week. Not heavy lifting. I'm not mad at her. But I do need to see quarters in 30 seconds to see if the shoeing is helping or not. And maybe even being at Stutzman's doesn't help. So probably going to turn her to see if she feels comfortable Monday when she gets shod. And Tuesday, she's likely going to school off the gate at least a little bit until I get a sense of, is she comfortable, is she not? So a little heavier lifting. But insider trading, no problem. I'm very, very comfortable in saying she'll qualify very easily next week. And she was sitting on a big mile. She was trotting a half at 58 to piece yesterday in the mud before she made that break down the lane. She still came half in a minute and a quarter, 30 seconds, and ran the last, 200 yards, 100 yards? Quite a while. So I'm not concerned with insider trading, but Flash Fly will take a little work. Now on to today. James wanted to go with Lonely Lakewood. The only question I had for him was he at himself. You could see him a couple of times in a mile pop himself. When they put that little shutter step in, that's usually them touching their knee or touching their jack. He'll do both once in a while. And James said, no, once at the half, you could see it, I saw it. And he said down the lane once or twice, but never ever gave me a feeling like, oh my God, he almost made a break, or I better watch out, he might run. He said he felt solid as a rock. Awesome last half, 58 and a piece. Last quarter, I think 28 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. A mile and two and a bit, a great mile from him. But the biggest story of the day for me was Ready for Landing. Here's a horse that has, you guys, you'll remember this. If this turns out to be a good horse, I want everybody to remember what he did all winter. If that horse trained 100 times, he ran 85 of them. You know it. You saw them. I reported them. And I kept telling everybody, I think he'll get it. And I told you, I didn't think he'd be ready till August. I thought inch by inch by inch, if we just continue to progress with this colt, maybe by August he'll figure it all out. And he's figured it out somewhat. You're not going to see him Indigo. You're not going to see his name on the entry sheet for a little bit. Still lots of work, lots of polish to put on this guy. But man, that was an impressive mile. That was an extreme amount of focus for him. Much more than the last 3 weeks have just been a complete pivot for this horse. And it's what I was hoping to see. I just didn't think we'd see it until August. Late July. I put a ton of work into him. Then I thought we'd see it. I did not think we would see this horse qualifying in June. Most certainly not June the 10th. And for him to be hit, what I like the most, and make no mistake, this is the most important thing. Nothing else matters except for what he did at the gate. He's a little warm, but he let me kind of muscle him off the gate, and he settled. He didn't, when the gate, a lot of the babies, when the gate goes to speedway, they want to take off and trot with it. This guy saw a horse coming from the outside. He's got an open bridle on. Saw the horses from the outside. There was a horse to his left. The gate sped away, and I just kind of seesawed him and just babied him and coddled him, and he came back to me and settled. Little hot going to the first turn, but up there 32 seconds. Can't blame him. Coming to the half, he allowed me again to keep him back off of Sylvain. Now, the one thing that is important also, in the past, he's rode on a helmet perfect. I just did not want to take any chances with him today. He's the type of horse that will sharpen you up as a driver too, because you'll have to be attentive to him every step, every second, every breath of that mile. You have to be focused on your job so that he focuses on his. But he was pretty good today for him. There was never any tentative moments other than the red alert you're on the entire time you're sitting behind him. There was never any, easy. There's none of that. We come out of the last turn, he cleared to the lead. He had a pretty good eye on that horse, and he just kind of coasted by him. And I just let him. I didn't put him in gear. I didn't tap him with the whip until after. And then when you watch him after the mile in the turn, then I let him rock. And he was flawless. It was perfect. All good things were today. All. Ready for Landing was fantastic. Looked to me like Lonely Lakewood was fantastic. And all the babies trained well. We're going to get to them. I trained AC Swan by herself, which is pretty much a no-no. She's a big slobby filly sometimes, and she's got a nice gait and she'll learn, but she's not big on work just yet. And training her by herself is probably, I almost said detrimental, but it's not detrimental. It just doesn't play to her strengths, put it that way. She went a mile in 2:18 off a half an 11. Good mile for her. She needs to be in a group. You might just find her. There's no rush. If she was a Pennsylvania bred, she'd be into school Tuesday. And I would make her school on Tuesday, but she's not. She's an Illinois bred. She only has to be ready for the middle of July to go out to Mr. Eaton, and we will. So there's no concerns in regards to AC Swan. I just knew that I had to go with her, but it was right when we had to warm up, Ready for Landing in Lonely Lakewood. So I said, no, you guys go with the fourth set, the three of you. I will go with AC Swan after, knowing that probably not something she was really impressed with doing, but it just fell under, play the hand you're dealt. Sorry, girl, you're the odd girl out today. Most importance of qualifiers. I'm not sending anybody else out the door with you to train. I'm going with you. You're going to have to wait your turn. And that's exactly what we did. But she trained very, very good. I know that Mary and Jerry were really pleased with Seasons of Love. I know maybe they didn't think I was telling the complete truth when I said she was sound. And I know that Mary was saying, oh, she was so lame the other day. You guys, and Mary even though she's there every day, you don't understand completely everything that's going on with the horses. Sometimes it's a little bit worse than it seems. Sometimes it's a little bit better than it seems. But I always try to bring everybody what it is, best I can, right? And there's no point being pessimistic. I'm an optimistic person. But when it came to Seasons of Love, yeah, I was worried. The reports I got after Grand River was she was lame. We had shod her, got new shoes on her, and this is important. This timeline's very important. We got brand new shoes on her on, let's say, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. I jogged her at 11 a.m. She was fine. I went to Ohio, as I do, Tuesday night. The reports I got from Ontario the next day was Seasons of Love is crippled lame. Crippled lame. So I'm thinking to myself, if it was the speed and the work from Grand River, it definitely would have shown up on Tuesday when I went with her. How did it not show up on Tuesday? I know exactly how. Because he chopped all the toes off her. Everything was fresh. She's used to her feet maybe being a little sore. So when we put those shoes on her, it really wasn't the end of the world. But the next day it was. Kind of like cutting your nail too short. It's going to hurt tomorrow. Hurts a little bit today, but it's going to hurt tomorrow. It's going to hurt the day after that and the day after that, and it'll start to get better. We've all been there, I'm sure. And that's exactly what happened. So knowing that, I said, it's got to be your feet. Take those shoes off. We x-rayed her to make sure. And actually, Dr. Bosenjack went back and blocked her out. So they put like the stuff you put in your teeth, blocked her foot out. She blocked sound. Because she was so sound after, we know it's in the foot area. X-rayed the foot. Nothing was found. 1 + 1 = 2 for sure. It was the wall itself. So had the blacksmith put Equilocks, which is almost like a fiberglass, on her feet on the outside, and then nailed the shoes back on through the fiberglass. No nails went through her actual hoof wall. I went with her the next day. She was perfect. I went with her the next day after that. In fact, I trained her the day after that. Perfect. And I watched her go today with Mario, and she was perfect again. Very happy with her. I know Danny. I said to Danny, I watched Drebin go. I thought he looked great. They only went a mile in 18 because Don't Talk About Bruno was in there and really didn't want to stretch Bruno out. Everybody else was ready to go a lot more. The other two were. Bruno was not. So I said to Danny, how was Drebin? I thought he looked great. He goes, he still seems a little left front. He goes, maybe it was me. I didn't see it. And I always look for Drebin. I didn't see it, but we did buy medication for Drebin's knees, injectable stuff. For those of you that are horse people, a lot of people use Adequan, acid. All the time, there's these new medications coming on the market. I forget the name of the medication, but it was actually Dr. Latessa in Ohio said, for your babies with your knees, I'd be interested to know. It's expensive. It's like $350 US per joint. He said, but I would be interested if you thought it worked well. Do you have any horses you think it'd work well? I said, I got just the horse. So Drebin will have that put in his knees on Monday, just preventative. But I thought the horse looked great today. Danny thought he was a little off left front. I didn't see that from my point of view. And I've seen Danny Golden before, and I'm like, geez, he looks off left front. Geez, I thought the horse looked great. So it might just be time for a little maintenance. We'll do that Monday. And depending on how he feels throughout the middle of the week, can't really train him after you've done those knees, especially with that medication. Don't really want to train him in the middle of the week. So we'll probably jog him up all week, and he may show up in the qualifiers, and he may not. There's a lot of people right now asking me, Anthony, when's this horse qualifying? When's that horse qualifying? There's no rush. There isn't a horse. The only horses that we wanted to qualify were the ones that were in to qualify because Pennsylvania starts at 1st of July, right? And then Ready for Landing, it was like, geez, we schooled him in 2-1. He's going to like Mohawk a lot more than First Line. Why don't we just put him in to qualify? Could have schooled him. If there was schoolers today, he probably would have been into school, but there's not. And that led to another couple of questions. I know you said J.K. Mickey Mantle is going to school. Did he school? No, they opted to go with the baby qualifiers on Friday, Saturday, and open qualifiers on Tuesday. No schooling on the baby qualifying days. And for the qualifiers, that's Tuesday. So I believe Harry was going to jog them up today, school them Tuesday, and then qualify them the following Tuesday. I believe that's no free lunch and J.K. Mickey Mantle. He sent me a message last night saying, what do you think? I said, well, if you want to go fast mile, I wouldn't do it at First Line with those two. He goes, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Just interested in what your thought process was. And I said, yeah, we just, as far as I'm concerned, school them Tuesday and qualify them the week after. So that's where we're at officially now with J.K. Mickey Mantle and no free lunch. I know a lot of people saying, geez, we waited so long. Lunch was ready 4 or 5 weeks ago and then knuckled over behind and banged his ankle behind. It blew up and he was quite sore. What vets would call a stinger, kind of. They see it a lot, I think, in show horses, saddle horses, maybe even thoroughbreds, where that front foot will come back like a trotter and hit right on the pastern area of it's very sore. It'd be like smashing your shin into the bed at night. Some of you may have done that. I know that I still have a notch in my shin from one time it happened to me. And that would be what it would be like. So a little painful. Harry took his time because if you just push forward like it's no big deal, he's going to load weight from where it's sore on that hind leg, and he can't afford to be loading any weight on that front leg. So Harry did the right thing. He's ready to go. Well, both those horses will be ready to go this week. As I said, school Tuesday, race next week. So I'll start from set 3 back to 1. Drebin was awesome, I thought. Seasons of Love was awesome, and Don't Talk About Bruno looked good to me. Probably ready to... You can't go and school him on Tuesday, although he only went in 18. And you know what? I'll talk to Johnny. We'll see how he looks on Monday. There's a chance he may show up Tuesday at Mohawk to do some schooling. There's a chance. Now, the second set was one of the more impressive ones. I won the set with Punch the Clock. I haven't sat behind Punch in a while, and James has been cover, and he's 100% right. But today, in that set, we had Punch the Clock, Widespread Panic, Time Is On My Side, Winter Bells, and Alibaba. Really, the only two that in my opinion, that could have been on the front in that set was Widespread Panic and Alibaba. Alibaba got away near the back. Danny put Widespread Panic on the front. Now, the problem is Widespread Panic's in a little deep in there. I wanted to go around 212. I wanted to tighten them all up a little bit. 210 in the jog cart at 1.5 miles at Joe's place. It feels like 2-1 or 2-2 at Mohawk. So I wanted to go 212. If we coasted a little quicker, fine. A little bit slower is okay, but I don't want to, except for the last set, I don't want to get up past 213. And we went a mile in 2:11 and 4 in the second set, maybe even 2:12. I won the set. I was sitting behind Widespread Panic, and Danny got us over the half 109 and 3, 109 and 2, which is going to be really slow, right? It's going to be hard to make that 212. And I didn't want to do it, but no one else was going to. I popped the filly out of the 2-hole, put her on the front. Now, we've been pretty protective of her. I don't know what she's going to do. Is she going to pull up a little bit in the front end? Is she going to wait for the horses? She stormed past Widespread Panic, and we were really making it getting into the last turn. I just let her do her work, and I heard somebody coming in the last turn. It was Time Is on my side. He roared right up alongside me, right to my wheel, and as soon as she heard him, game on. She was gone, and they finished together. He never got 1 inch closer to my bridle than he did at the 3/4 pole. Both of them were really making it down the lane. Right in behind us was Winter Bells and Alibaba. Both of them finished up very, very strong, right in behind me, and then just behind us, Widespread Panic did what he could. Probably went a mile in 2:14 off a half and 9 and a piece, which is a good mile for him. Again, great advancement for him. So now the second and third sets were great. The first set was awesome also. I went out on the track, and Mounds for All was going to get a workout today. Been a while since I sat behind him. I went a slow mile with him the other day, and he was hanging a bit. So I stomped on the accelerator pretty good with this guy today. I worked him real hard. We get over the half in 9 and went a mile in 2:11, 2:12, which is a big last half. I won the set. Mick Paisley was climbing over me going under the wire in behind. Mario did the right thing. He pulling up, he said, very, very good. So Mick Paisley was great today, very safe. Watch your mouth. Screaming on the end of it. I heard him coming through the middle, and then after the wire, he caught right up to us. Great Bet was just behind us, and J-Port Beach Boy. I think we're going to put an open bridle and a line pole in J-Port Beach Boy. He's a bit of a hanger, right? Bit of a hanger, but that might be the MO for a lot of those horses, right? The McWickets until they get their bearings underneath them, and they know what their job is, and they know when they're asked to get it done. But I wasn't disappointed with anybody, either of those colts on that finished 4th and 5th. Great Bet. Amy went with him, said he throws his head a lot. I said, yeah, you just gotta put him to the fire, put his feet to the fire, make him do his work. He was good, and so was J-Port Beach Boy. So no breaks, no nothing. Everybody was perfect training. How many did we have? 14 trainers were perfect. Very happy with all 14 of them. Extremely happy with the 2 qualifiers today and yesterday. As I said, my only concern of the entire group right now is just getting Flash Fly squared away. Just getting her on the straight and narrow, and I think we can. It's not a problem there. Her work ethic is impeccable, so I'm sure it won't be a problem, but we do got to make some changes there, and insider trading, minor little change to her, and I'm almost positive. I'm never going to say positive with a 2-year-old trotter. I'm almost positive we won't have any issues moving forward with her. Now, I talked about a mare that I bought. Her name is B. Lisa. She's by a horse named B Strike 3, and if my memory serves me correct, I didn't look it up, but I know I was talking to Scotty about it the day before, or when he was here, when he was in Ohio, and I said, I'm positive your father drove that horse, and I think Raz McKenzie had it, if I'm not mistaken. I can't be positive about Raz, but I know that Rick Zeron drove B Strike 3 for quite a few times. She ends up being a Kentucky bred. I believe she took a lifetime mark of 156, which is at Lexington, a speedway, but still, she's seen a little speed. She doesn't have very many starts under her belt, and if my math is correct, she only has 2 parimutuel victories. So, yes, she's 6. She's been a little long in the tooth to only have 18,000 or whatever she has made, and 4 wins, 2 of them parimutuel. But she only had 28 starts. Mr. Brown had called me and said, Anthony, would you be interested? Emailed me and said, would you be interested in this mare? I just have no opportunities to race her. She's qualified. In fact, there's no blacksmiths around. I had to qualify her barefoot. Barefoot. Okay. Qualified her barefoot in DeCoin in 2.5. I believe that's enough to get her in. We'll probably school her. She's headed back to Kentucky. What's wrong, bud? You have the charger? You can use this charger in a second. Why don't you have a charger back there, honey? There's an extra one in the car, I think.
Yeah, but they only take those chargers in, I don't know.
Let me see. Oh, they don't have this thing. You know what does is that up there. That's all right. I'll give you my charger. It's okay.
I'll just put it back in this one.
That's fine. Yep. Just leave it there. So, B. Lisa is her name. Just how it sounds. The letter B and Lisa is now the stable.ca's. We paid $14,000 US for her. I'll get, Mr. Brown wanted to keep a small piece of her. I will get Wendy to put the rest of the shares up for sale, whatever ones are left at the end of the day. And that brings me to the Burke sale. Every so often, Mark Weaver and Ronnie will put 5 or 6. They got a gabillion horses to make us look like a hobby farm. They'll put a group of horses up for sale, and again, it's all pricing. What are they actually worth? I know what they want for them, and then they're smart enough to know that right now it is a seller's market right now for the most part, especially on better looking horses. So a good time to sell. Don't know if it's a good time to buy, but again, it'll depend on what we price them at, what we think they're worth, and whether they're going to fit in and make an immediate impact for us here at thestable.ca. We do have the preferred sale on Monday. A couple of horses in there look a little interesting. I got a phone call from Steve yesterday. He didn't want to take his horse to Kentucky. He was a winner last week in 155 at Mohawk, and he could go to Kentucky. He just didn't want to risk taking him down there and not being good enough. And geez, he looks pretty good to me too. So I mean, it's an odd position to be in. I don't know what he'll go for. I don't think Steve should or would give the horse away. But I'd have to look at where we could race him, where he's gonna, if he's gonna be valuable, have some value to us or not. I guess the only hiccup for this week was Haunted House didn't get in. I got a call from Mark Beckwith today saying I could race him in Saratoga, Anthony, but he should be on a bigger track. I know he gets around a half, there's no problem, but do you really want to race him on a half? And I think he's right. So I told him, I said, well, just put him in to go Plainridge. If he doesn't get in, we may have to put him up for sale because honestly, he's non-winners of 5, but not more than 8. It doesn't fill everywhere. There's lots of room to race him in if you want to race him. But quite frankly, I don't think he's depreciated even in $1. It might be worth more than what we paid for him in the wintertime, and he's made quite a bit of money for us. So although we haven't replenished a lot of the troops, so to speak, that we've lost, trust me when I tell you, this is the time of year people start putting their horses up for sale because they'll race them in the Stallion Series or the Sire Stakes in any form, in any jurisdiction, and realize maybe they're not as good as they think, and they look for the lifeboat, so to speak. They start saying, he's not going to be the best in the Stallion Series or the Grassroots or the Buckeye. Let's just see what we can get for him on the open market, and so on and so forth, all the way up further and higher and faster. And there may be a purchase out there for us, and I suspect there'll be more and more and more, and they'll become more plentiful as we get through the summer. So for right now, that is what took place today. That is what is ongoing for the rest of the week. I do, and I will have an opening video to make, but I thought I would bring this to you today. Just updating you on what has gone on, what will go on. Who did we have racing last night? We had Yo Mister. I thought that was the open. I thought he raced pretty good. Still struggles a bit in the turns. That's going to be a work in progress, and anybody can see it's not lameness, so anybody can see. Well, it's hard to say. Usually when horses run in, there's something pinching them, but it's not your generic run-of-the-mill, we got to work on this thing because he's sore on it, that's why he runs in. It's not really that. I think there's a couple little things they got to work on, but he's only a 4-year-old, and I think once we get that wrinkle at him and that lets him zip through those turns a little bit better, we're going to have a really, really nice horse on our hands. A little frustrated yesterday with Kings County. What are you going to do? Trailer broke down. Got a flat tire on the way to LASIK. Somebody said to me, it's one more thing with Kings County. All right, I'm going to nip this in the bud right now. Kings County made over $200,000 last year. I don't want to hear one person, not one person, complain about Kings County. He qualified and won his qualifier. Stacy tried to race him out hobbles. He made a break in the first turn, and he's coming off arrest. Kings County owes not one human being in this stable 1 penny, not a penny. So I don't want to hear anybody complain about Kings County. Yes, it's very frustrating and annoying when things like that happen, when accidents happen, but the horse is fine. He'll be in to go next week. The hobbles will be on him, and they'll race him next Friday. It's not the end of the world. So we got Yo Mister at Kings County. What a mile from JK Victory. Last quarter in 25-3. All the pieces are starting to be put back together here in Indiana, which is good news. Lots to race this summer down there for him, and a great job by Ron. Actually, I haven't really talked to him at all. Somebody said, any updates from Ronnie? No, you're not going to get much from Ronnie Burke. You could call him and he'd say, yeah, I raced good. Okay, have a good day. That's pretty much it. But that's what you have to deal with. And it's not shocking. It's not new. It's not the end of the world. The man's busy. So that's that. Very happy with the way the horse is racing. He raced good again last night. Who's the one horse I'm missing? Must have been Pennsylvania. Yes, Merchant Man. Get beat in the front. The front's not his cup of tea, and I don't think he's a killer anyway. He's just a horse, just an overnight horse, but he'll do us some good now that he's starting down in the non-winners of 1. He'll eventually win that class and move on. I'm happy that he's doing well for Tim. As I said to Tim said, I got some stalls open. I said, well, we got some PA breds that are qualifying that are going to do us both some good this summer. So when they start that mini series, that pop-up series in the middle of June, like they usually do towards the end, non-winners of 1, 2-year-olds and leading into the sire stakes, and we'll have a horse for each distinction when it comes to the pop-up series. Oh, actually, that's not true. We won't have a pacing filly, I don't think. Oh, yes, we do. Paycheck Princess. We don't have a pacing colt because he is in Arson is in Kentucky, and Time Is On My Side, not ready to go yet. And before anybody says, hey, where's Time Is On My Side? He's not ready yet. He'll be ready when he's ready. He's a giant horse, trained very, very good today. Johnny went with him, was very happy with him, but I'm not in any hurry whatsoever to have him ready. He will tell us when he's ready. He's close. He's already schooled in 2-2. We'll go back with a couple more schoolers with him, and when James says he's ready to go, and when the horse tells him he's ready to go, that's when you're going to see his name in to go. But other than that, we have a whole bucket full of trotting fillies and trotting colts that could easily go down to Pennsylvania. It is here. Summer's here. It's June the 10th. Stakes are starting. They're right around the corner. The babies are qualifying. Everything is looking good here in Ontario and in Ohio, generally at the stable. Looking forward to watching the racing tonight. Looking forward to racing. I forbid you tonight. Make up for that little error last week. I really like this filly, our mare, and I think she's going to do us some good. So with that, you're all up to date. This could be the opening, but instead, it is your Saturday video. Ollie and I were about 25 minutes from the border, and we'll actually be to the ball game early. Practice some pitching beforehand. Take care.